Okay, well, we're back. For somebody who doesn't do anything all day, my days sure seem to fly by like nobody's business. All right, let's see if we can get through this board meeting. We're coming up to the end, so let's see if we can get through.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for that information. Does the board have any comments or questions for Tom on this one? Okay, hearing none. Thank you. We will now declare victory on this item, all right? So that is the end of our business meeting. Is there anything that any member of the board or staff knows of that needs to be brought forward to the board today for action? Hearing none, then I'm going to adjourn our business meeting for January 27th, 2021. And we do have two briefing items on the agenda, and I know they're really actually quite informative and good items. How's the board doing here? I know we lost Ozzy. I know Linda would like to continue on. I'd like to have this information, but I want to make sure that we're not going to lose another couple board members.
Ozzy!
How long do you think this will take, first off, Doug, to go through these?
You're probably looking at a half an hour in total. What I might suggest is this is the third attempt to get the code enforcement. So I really think that should be priority.
What? Yeah. See, this is an example of what I've been talking about. When they say they're going to bring it back to the board next month, they never bring it back. And that's right. Remember this whole fair enforcement update? That was supposed to happen a couple of meetings ago.
And then I've already spoken to JC about briefing item number 2 about Trimet.org. It's a really good news story for us, and I would suggest that one gets moved on to the February board meeting. But we do cover off the fair and code enforcement update as of the two.
Well, I agree with your priorities. And is the board okay with moving forward on the fair enforcement update?
Can we just stretch our legs for like 3 minutes?
Of course.
Well, you're at home.
3-minute break, and everybody else are okay to come back then after that 3 minutes?
Turn off your camera.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
I mean, they're not at City Hall or whatever. I mean, what's the big deal, man? Yeah, go stretch your legs, Dougie. Let's see. Let's watch Dougie. It's like it. We're watching you, Dougie. Let's see what he's doing. I got my eyes on you. It's like a scanner. You're watching. Instead of hearing the stuff, we're watching Dougie. See if he does anything funny. Does he know he's on camera? He's reading something. Oh, he's on. Listen, can we hear his phone call? That'd be cool. Come on, Dougie. Turn on your mic. We want to hear what you're saying. Wrong number, huh, Dougie? I can blow this up. Can I blow this up? Let me see. No, I can't. He's talking to somebody, but we can't hear it. Oh. That was fun. Bruce is eating. Poor Bruce. He wants to get out of there. He's at home and he still wants to get out of there. Yeah, they stick this most important item at the very end of the goddamn meeting here. Okay, come on, let's go. Get with it. Well, I'll look at some tweets. What's this? Oh. Let's see what we got here. How about Michael Krieger?
Let's see who's back. I think we've got everybody. Just a sec here. I think we've lost Director Edwards and Director Way.
Yes.
Still not
Well,
showing.
we don't care about them. Just go ahead and show
we'll
us.
give them a moment here.
Yeah. Oh, there's, okay. Yeah, they still haven't connected back in yet, so.
They may be there. They just don't have their video on.
Yeah. Sorry, I just couldn't see them at all there for a sec.
Boy, he's good. Let's get this guy.
Director Way and Director Edwards, are you back?
Nope.
I guess not.
Just go without him. I can hear you. I just care about me.
There's Director Edwards. I would like Director Way to be listening on to this discussion.
Yeah, so I guess it's Way is what her name is. Way, not.
And probably to, maybe Jeff, if we could probably take down the business agenda. Probably just.
What's the difference? Leave it up.
Allow us to see all of our pretty faces.
Oh.
There we go.
Now, why don't we get to see this all the time? What is this shit, man?
Speak for yourself.
Why don't we get to see all of you?
Not for me. There's Kathy back. Okay. I think we're ready to go.
Okay, here we go.
We're set.
Okay, so this is, again, our apologies to Director Bauman. This is something that I'd spoken to Director Bauman on some time ago, and many months ago. We talked about it coming forward in September, and it ultimately got bumped. So this is the third attempt, so I really appreciate her patience, and this Director Bauman is for you, so to start with. So I'd like to introduce Justin Dillon, as well as Executive Director Marlo Blagg, to walk through the presentation. We've got about, I think it's about a dozen, 12, 13 slides around the whole fare enforcement and compliance and how are we actually doing since we've rolled some of this out. So I'll turn it right over to those two to go through the presentation and answer questions.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you so much, President Warner and the board. I'd like to just really give you a high-level program history about our fair compliance program, administrative milestones that we've achieved, some of the challenges we've experienced to the program during COVID, and historical staffing levels. And with that, I'll turn it over to Justin.
She came from BART.
And he can run through the PowerPoint.
You know, they all run around.
Okay, thank you, Marla. Good afternoon, President Warner, members of the board. I will try and move through this quickly. Jeff, if you can go ahead and move into our first slide, please. Next slide. So briefly, a little bit of program history. As the board's aware, following extensive community outreach in July of 2018, the Trimet board authorized instituting the administrative options for the resolution of citations, essentially giving individuals the opportunity to avoid traditionally what was a court process.
Yes, this was good. All good. Let's hear what he says.
Opportunities, for staff, range from.
And I'm a big supporter of fare free transit, but if you don't want to have fare free transit, at least make the fine commensurate with the crime. A fare evasion ticket should not be $75. It should be what, $10? Let's look at it at what it actually is for a crime. You didn't pay $250. Why are you now having to pay? This is the presumptive reduced fine, or 8 hours of service. You got to take a whole day. This is a good one. They let you get into this low income one. Let's hear what he says. Let's not jump the gun yet.
Reduced fines, community service opportunities. You can resolve your citation through successful enrollment in reduced fare programs, low income and honored citizen, or request a hearing with Trimet. Also, we continued and began as part of this to invest in some of our technology and software and databases, electronically filing citations with courts. In December of 2018, as part of the general manager's agency realignment, the fare inspectors were moved from our field operations team to safety, security, and environmental. Next slide.
So wait a minute. They moved him from the... That's interesting.
So some of the administrative milestones, as Marla mentioned, in January of 2019, we launched our blended security model, adding customer safety officers and reducing our law enforcement footprint and participation as part of our fare enforcement missions. We continue to focus on behavior change models such as community,
Let's look at this here. Focused on behavior change model. March 2000. This is 2 years ago. Reverse geocoding and other electronic. What the fuck is that? December 2. This is 2 years ago. No longer utilizing. So who are they? What are they? I don't understand what they did there.
Community service opportunities, enrollment reduced fine programs. Have continued to invest in some of our technologies, such as reverse geocoding and other electronic citations efficiencies. This has also allowed us to improve.
See, this is the whole industrial complex, a part of it. This whole electronic complex here. Oh God, all of that could be eliminated with fare-free transit. All of this should be eliminated with fare-free transit. The money should come from another place. Not fares.
Improve our data collection and reduce the time in the interaction with customers and riders when they receive a warning or citation, allowing them to more quickly get on their way. And in December of 2019, we eliminated our code enforcement shifts. This resulted in no longer utilizing our field operations staff to supplement our code enforcement activities. Ultimately, that allowed the field operations team to redeploy these individuals across the system to better support our operations.
Wait a minute. I still hear, as far as I know, the rail supervisors are still doing code. He's saying they're not doing code.
So, COVID implications. In March of 2020, we suspended the filing of citations for formal proof of payment with...
All right, you see here, now this is important. They suspended it because of COVID, but just to be clear, the people that didn't follow the Trimet 90-day rule still ended up in court. So they did not completely decriminalize the fare evasions. They did not, and that's important to understand, because they present it as like they completely eliminated the criminalization of fares when they didn't, because the people that didn't do the 90 days ended up in court anyway.
The court system, focusing on compassionate, educate, educate, inform over enforce. Cited individuals continue to have the opportunity to resolve citations through our administrative options, but if not resolved with us, these citations would not be submitted to the court system. On March 26, following the suspension,
that was only because of COVID that they did that.
Formal cash acceptance on the bus system, we suspended our formal proof of payment activity as a whole system-wide. At that point, inspectors would ask for proof of fare while walking through our trains and encouraging those without fare to purchase fare. In October of 2020, following all of those COVID mitigations the general manager spoke to earlier, with face coverings and hand sanitizer, operator barriers, Curious fogging machines, and with the resumption of formal cash acceptance on the bus fleet, we began to resume our formal proof of payment activity, that being the month of October, issuing warnings, November on, phasing back into our traditional proof of payment activity. Next slide, please. So historical and current staffing levels. Historically, Trimet had more than 60 fare inspectors. If I can draw your attention to the chart on the left, next to 2018 under new staff, that 3FI, that's 3 fare inspectors. Those were the 3 that were transferred over to safety and security as part of the agency realignment. Due to other priorities, in previous years, fare inspectors were transferred to field operations as supervisors, with fare enforcement as an added responsibility. As we discussed in 2018, Trimet began rebuilding the fare inspection.
This is very good to look at, because what you see here is how they grew the bureaucracy. They had 1 manager. Why do you need a manager for 3 fare inspectors? Next year, they had 9 fare inspectors, 2 assistant managers, and 1 manager. And then 2020, they have 6 fare inspectors, 2, I don't know, what are those, lead supervisors? Okay, wait a minute. So here, okay, I got this wrong. So they had 3, and then they added 9, and they had added 2, so they had a total of 12. And they added 2 more managers up here, which is completely pork barrel. And then 2020, they added 6 more fare inspector and 2 leads, whatever the hell that is. So they had 18 fare inspectors. So they really, this is a good chart to look at, because what you really see here is how they grew this bureaucracy from just fare inspectors and 1 manager to 18 fare inspectors, 2 whatever these leads are, and 2 assistant managers and 1 manager. So they grew the bureaucracy, which is exactly what bureaucracy does. It grows itself. It will keep growing itself as long as it can. It will always look for more tax money to grow itself. It's called empire building. Kelsey's empire gets bigger with every person he hires here.
Program to address increasing fare evasion rates and code of conduct violations, bringing us to 2020. Well, we now have 18 fare inspectors on the system. 18 may sound like a lot, but when spread across a nearly 24/7 operation and a 533 square mile service area,
it's not a 24/7 operation. Don't lie.
There's never more than a proof of payment staff working at a time. The program needs to continue to grow to address increasing demands.
All right, stop. See, okay, I was just having this argument here on Twitter with Bjorn, and he's saying right here they're getting more and more. They're doing more and more and more fare inspection. They're not going fareless to go in the other direction. They're going more enforcement, not less enforcement, more enforcement.
Next slide, please. So, despite the administrative options and reduced fare programs, fare evasion still exists. What you're looking at here in the map, and I apologize, it's a bit small, is a fare evasion map that's produced by our team. And this is a snapshot of District 1 in June of 2020.
Let me, I want to, I just happen to be on this. I want to send this to this guy. Funny. Let me see here. Funny you should admit. Mm. 351.57. Start a little. All right.
And it's just an idea. Those darker areas and darker shaded areas that you see are where operators have reported at single locations or shared stops instances of 400 or more fare violations by boarding riders. Next slide, please. So 2019 fare evasion citations. You can see the bulk of the citations issued in 2019, that blue shading, were for first-time offenses. Working clockwise or counterclockwise around that, you can see there were 868 citations issued for third offenses and 1,382 for a fourth or more offense. Typically, there's 4 reasons people avoid paying fare. Those who take a chance, those who are unable to pay. Those are the folks that through our reduced fare programs, we through the citation process help connect with the program.
You know, this whole concept, bulk of fare evaders are risk takers. This offends me. Okay, that's offensive. Why are they taking a risk? Because they're rich people? Because they've got a lot of money to spare? Okay, that's offensive to me. They're risk takers, so they don't want to pay the fare because they don't have enough money to pay the fare. That $2.50 means something to them. This is very, very, very. This is horrible. This is the problem right here, is that they don't look at the people as people. They look at them as somebody who deserves their penalty. See? Identifying the number of times an offender is caught helps the agency better deploy resources. Jesus, is terrible. Yeah, horrible, horrible.
For them to meet their mobility needs. Those who don't know how to pay, these individuals, they rarely ever receive a citation. These are folks who are visitors to the community, new to our system or new to our fare technology. These folks, we educate those to show them how to use the technology. And those who always will fare evade. Those would be your third, fourth, or more offenses. Next slide, please.
Yeah, and that's why you should have fare free.
So again, a little bit of a busy color wheel here. So of those who resolved their citations administratively with Trimet, how did they choose to do so?
Let's see that.
You can see that in 2019, 23% of the citations issued were resolved through our administrative processes. That's about 3,600 out of about 15,000.
All right, this is an interesting chart. I was wondering about this. So most people take the reduced fine. 55% take the reduced fine. 20% are thrown out completely. Transit assist, 12%, whatever that is. 3% only 3% get the HC card. And then community service, 8%. What is this? What?
500 total citations. If I can draw your attention to the blue shading on the color wheel, you can see that the vast majority, 55%, chose to resolve their citation through payment of a reduced fine. Working around counterclockwise in the orange, you can see that 20% were dismissed. This was through our appeals process. These are individuals who, for whatever reason, at the time were unable to demonstrate they were in possession of valid fare. Perhaps they didn't have their qualifying ID. Their electronic device may have died. The administrative process allows these individuals to very quickly resolve these citations without interaction with the court. Continuing on around in the purple, you can see, I think this is great. 12% of those individuals resolve their citations through enrollment in the Transit Assistance Program.
Okay.
Continuing on to the green.
So that 12% got their hop card. I guess that's what that is. They give you the option of getting the hop card and putting $25 on it.
3% through enrollment in Honored Citizen.
Well,
and then finally,
what's the? Wait a minute. They're both the same. What? There's two separate. Okay, I guess this is the transit assist is a low income fare, I guess, and the HC is just like for old people or disabled people.
Finally, around to the yellow, 8% through successful completion of community service. Before I move on, are there any other questions about this slide?
That's interesting. I was wondering about that.
Okay, hearing none. Next slide, please.
All right.
Okay, other Trimet code violations. This is, again, a busy color wheel, but a snapshot of individuals who were issued citations that were not eligible for resolution through our administrative process.
What?
Why? Because they're either behavioral citations or fare and behavioral citations. As you can see, alcoholic beverages, refuge and waste, violation of signage, harassment, intimidation, etc.
I can't read it.
Next slide.
Justin, just for the board members, this is available in your package because if it's an eye test, I fail miserably.
This, yeah, he's right. This guy is a well-known, brutal and fair inspector. Well known by social media as somebody to really avoid and watch out for this guy.
Based on what's on the screen, so it is available in the board members package. So,
and what about our packet? Where's my? I want to see it.
Jeff, if you can click on the image there, get a very short video to share, if it'll play.
Does not want to cooperate.
Okay, that's fine. In the interest of time, we'll move on. This is just a video put together in partnership with our public affairs team, showing and helping to educate riders when they encounter fare inspectors with our customer safety officers, what they should expect. Help taking away some of the mystery of what these folks are out there to do, and that they're there for customer service or to help with other public safety concerns. Next slide, please. So we talked that only 23%.
All right.
Of citations issued, fare citations by Trimet in 2019 were resolved through one of our administrative processes. Our public affairs team put together a mailer to send out to the individuals who did not resolve with us, asking some very basic questions as to why individuals chose not to. So you can see a little over 6,500 records or citations were reviewed. Of those, for the mailer, 2,778 were not eligible for the mailer because they contained.
So 6,595 people did not resolve their fare insight, their fare. Removed 2,000 due to false information or address.
False information or addresses. A total of 3,817 surveys were sent, and of those, 1,300 were returned as undeliverable. As a result, approximately 33 or 35% were due to invalid addresses. We only had a 1.4% response rate for a total of 36 responses.
Nobody responded.
The vast majority of
they sent out 3,800 surveys sent, 36 responses. Jesus Christ. That's not much of a response.
Those individuals indicated that they either forgot about the citation, they wanted their day in court, thought they could get a better deal in court. But the good news is, of those respondents, 61% indicated that now that they had more information.
Out of the 36 responded, out of the 36 responses, 20 of them said they will resolve.
Or better understand the process, they would utilize the administrative options in the future. One thing this slide also shows is one of the unintended consequences of removing peace officers and law enforcement from our fare compliance activities is individuals are less likely to give correct information during the citation process to our staff. Next slide, please. Same conclusion, fare compliance with unarmed.
Fare compliance with unarmed security is an important program to ensure safe. Yeah, see, they're beefing it up. Fare inspectors operate, of course, they're never there when you need them, if you notice. When there's an actual incident, they're never around. Fair inspectors, operators, eyes and ears on the system. Excuse me. Operators and customer service help keep our system functioning. Fair recovery is necessary for financial health. Not really. They keep throwing that in, and it's only 13% of the operation of that train. It's not necessary for your financial health. You just throw that in because that's what you do. Administrative options are underutilized by numerous riders. Correct. More data and thoughtful evaluation. Yeah, more studies and more. Keep doing studies, right? Unanticipated secondary consequences emerge with reducing police presence. False addresses and names. Well, you could just get rid of the fares and all of this would be gone. So, but you're not going to do that because you're part of the police state. And, you know, you need, these institutions need to keep that hammer. They need to have this transit to jail pipeline.
Security continues to be an important program to ensure the safety and security. Fair inspectors operate as the eyes of the system and enforce all of the rules to ride and help ensure the livability issues of the system. As we know, fair recovery is necessary for the financial health of the system. As we saw, administrative options are underutilized by numerous riders who have been cited for fare evasion, and more data and thoughtful evaluation needs to occur. We need to continue to focus on, taking a holistic approach to ensure code compliance. We have a very diverse team of fare inspectors, both by race, gender identity, and even language. And that completes the presentation, and we'll be glad, either Marla or myself, to entertain any questions at the pleasure of the board.
I'll just real quickly say,
hold on. Ozzy answered my, I tweeted him about the bread. See, I tweeted him. Regarding your breaking bread analogy, what's to stop the baker from using poison in the bread before serving it to people? His response, nothing. Trouble is, baker, I guess. That's the staple. And I gave him a good one, Ozzy. I do like that guy. Okay.
I want the board to understand that this system has been in place for years. And it was really, Trimet really took the lead nationally, from what I understand, in decriminalizing fare enforcement.
Oh, wait, Bauman.
Understand that
I hate her.
When folks...
But the good news is, of those respondents, 61% indicated that now that they have more information or better understand the process, they would utilize the administrative options in the future. One thing this slide also shows is one of the unintended consequences of removing peace officers and law enforcement from our fair compliance activities is individuals are less likely to give correct information during the citation process to our staff. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, fair compliance with unarmed security continues to be an important program to ensure the safety and security. Fair inspectors operate as the eyes of the system and enforce all of the rules to ride and help ensure the livability issues of the system. As we know, fair recovery is necessary for the financial health of the system. As we saw, administrative options are underutilized by numerous riders who have been cited for fare evasion, and more data and thoughtful evaluation needs to occur. We need to continue to focus on, taking a holistic approach to ensure code compliance. We have a very diverse team of fare inspectors, both by race, gender identity, and even language. And that completes the presentation, and we'll be glad, either Marla or myself, to entertain any questions at the pleasure of the board.
What a nice presentation, Justin.
I'll just real quickly say,
okay.
I want the board to understand that this system has been in place for years. And it was really, Trimet really took the lead nationally, from what I understand, in decriminalizing fare enforcement. You have to understand that previously when...
That's not true. And just look at Seattle's way ahead of Trimet with this, way ahead. Just look it up yourself. King County Metro Fare Enforcement, they're way ahead.
Folks would get these tickets. have to go immediately to the court system. And that doesn't happen anymore. You have to go through an internal, non-criminal administrative process at Trimet. And as I understand it, it's only for folks who are repetitive.
No, she has it wrong. She wasn't paying attention. She wasn't even paying attention to this. If you don't use the system, which is a significant number of people didn't, it goes to the courts. They haven't been sending it to the courts because of COVID. But she doesn't even pay attention. This woman's probably going to be the next chairman, which is frightening.
Caught not paying their fare, those are the folks who are going to end up in court. So this really is a great innovation around addressing, honestly, mass incarceration issues. This is a way to resolve our concern, which is that folks pay their fare, but not have folks end up on a pipeline into the criminal justice
wrong,
system.
Bauman.
So I'm just really...
And I remember your statement. I remember, you think I forgot, but I remember how she was all worked up about the so-called cheaters, the cheaters.
Proud of this and really glad that it's been instituted. And the community service option is a great option, a great program for those who can't afford to pay their fine.
Hardly anybody took. Did you watch the goddamn thing, Lori?
Taking the chance that they won't get caught. But for those who don't pay and who don't have the ability to pay, there is the low-income fare program. They can enroll in, and then they are not subject to paying the fine. That's another kind of out or another resolution in the system. So I'll brag about this program. I think it's really a great initiative. I wanted to ask about on slide 11, you mentioned a social support system address. What does that mean? Social support system.
These were individuals who perhaps provided an address, such as transition projects in downtown 750 Northwest Irving, as their place of residence or where they received mail. I appreciate your comments on how this has been a leadership program within the organization. We've had everybody from Metropolitan Transportation Authority in Boston, King County copied this program almost directly. Minneapolis has reached out to us.
King County's ahead of you.
And with the community service, I'd like to touch on two. Through some of our community service providers, individuals with as few as 12 hours can earn laptop or desktop computers with warranties. Others, while giving back to the program, such as the Rebuild Center, can learn basic carpentry or electrical or plumbing skills that can, continue to serve them.
Other comments? I see Linda Simmons, you have a hand up.
Yes. Marla, I know we're a long ways from 60. And I know we're in a hiring freeze, and I know the financial issues, facing
You're not in a hiring freeze. Did you just see the hiring? I just posted it to Twitter. It's like 14 jobs there. There's no freeze.
Do you have any kind of sense of we're entering another budget cycle for FY22, whether or not you'll be able, even in these tight budget times, to be able to begin to bring back more inspectors?
Yeah, that's a really fantastic question. And I think what we will be doing in the Reimagine Public Safety is really looking at the entire scheme of the entire security and safety program and how we can augment and increase presence on the system. That is one of the primary objectives on Reimagine Public Safety, is to increase that presence, and that presence will need to be a combination of code compliance staff, also ride guides or customer safety staff. So we'll look at all of that, and of course we know the general manager supports those initiatives for Reimagine Public Safety. And I think we're going to have to get a little creative moving forward, but we're down for that challenge.
Thank you.
Director Way?
Yes, thanks. I have a couple questions and comments. So first off, thank you for the update. I think this is very timely. Can you go back to slide 5? There's a couple of slides that I just wanted to reference, but slide 5 was one of them. So at
good.
Let's see, there was a bullet point, the last bullet point where it says program must continue to grow to meet demand. And then there was another point that was made at the end around we need more data and evaluation. I guess to say that we must continue to meet demand, what data are we basing that on? And I know that we just embarked on a really robust reimagine, public safety process. So my assumption as a board member is based on that, where we're saying we need to grow to meet these demands. But I also don't know if that's accurate, because I think as a board or as one board member, I would like to see more data, more survey, so that I feel confident in justifying, this is the level of staffing that we need based on this available data or feedback from community or whatever it is. So, Marla, can you sort of explain, I guess, where that bullet point was coming from?
Yeah, so this specifically is talking about fair compliance. And our fair compliance rates anywhere pre-COVID were probably hovering around 16 to 18% of our riders were not paying fare. Post-COVID, we actually estimate that it could be as high as 26, maybe even 30% of our riders may not be paying fare. So you're right, we absolutely need to get a little bit better handle of this and do some more fare compliance surveys. But that is specifically talking to the fare evasion rates. And I will turn it over to Doug, how he can say what, as an agency, what we're trying to target at.
Yeah, if you look at other transit agencies, you would see typically code compliance is around a 3.5% to 5%. Let's take it to 7% range. So we're about 2.5 to 3 times higher than the normal standard compliance, and that's on top of low-income fare, all those other alternatives that's been nicely covered already. So that's typically the range as a proof of payment system. So I would suggest we need to be moving this down probably by half over time.
Yeah, more fare enforcement. So yeah, okay. So where they're going in the exact wrong direction, that's how I feel about it. They need, the reason they need to move away from this. I mean, if anything, the COVID has shown that relying on fares is the worst way to maintain your transit system, because the COVID threw away all the riders. And if you had another way to fund this besides fares, we wouldn't having a problem right now. Should be part of the property tax, okay? Why not? Jesus, the lack of creativity with the institutional boards of public transportation is just shocking how awful they really are.
My next question is slide 9, with that pie chart of the multicolored pie chart of
she's really paying attention.
Yes, thank you. I wasn't sure what that was called again. So I wanted to,
can't read into that.
Excuse me, I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of that harassment and intimidation slice, because I want to really just lift that up, because that is something that we should not tolerate as an agency, is any type of harassment or intimidation, especially if it invokes violence towards gender or, different identity.
And the problem is, Kathy, that you can't have a cop on every bus and every train. And we're in the midst of a collapse of civilization. You don't feel it. Nobody sitting on this board feels it because you're isolated from it. Just like me. I know what's going on because I listen to the scanner, which is real life. Okay, that's what's really going on. That's not mainstream news. That's news from a very specific sector of the culture. That's the real news.
So I just would love someone to explain if we are encountering someone again who is, clearly racist or saying a lot of threats and harming other people. How do we deal with that? Do we just give them a violation and let them go, or what is our process?
Justin, I'll let you share what the fair inspectors do for code compliance regarding this.
Sure, thank you. Well, in many cases, and this is a snapshot that's specific to, what citation activity, be it fair or code violations, have been issued and take place by our staff. Obviously, our staff are supported by our transit police officers or even other responding agencies. In many cases, if we get a loud verbal or something like that comes into the command center, supervisors are dispatched. Depending on the significance of the incident, law enforcement may be simultaneously dispatched. And so it is something that is a huge focus. We have extensive support. We just had a meeting yesterday with our new public safety partners, here in our building. And this is something that, they really want to support us with. So in most cases, what you would see here as far as this data would be, maybe there was an arrest that took place for that type of horrible, inappropriate behavior. And this is just supporting that arrest. Perhaps one of our code compliance staff also issued a citation. And what that helps the officers with, if it escalated to criminal activity, is to kind of show, how did we get to that point? If that's an example, but our folks do the best they can. This is something that, as you said, we do not tolerate and have full support from our public safety partners.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, Justin. That's really thorough. And for me, as a board member, would love to see again more of that data that you just talked about, particularly around this sort of harassment and intimidation piece, because I just know that, again, the incidence of hate crimes and hate speech and, then just horrible physical violence have been just on an uptake over recent years. So I think it'd be important for us to have some data as well as what is our proactive and preventative response from actual physical harm from taking place.
Yes,
I might just add to this. I think you may have seen over the last year plus, I've actually, under the general manager's authority, I've actually banned people from the system for life. You don't want to do that. You want people to behave properly, not just to our employees, but also to the public at large. This gets back to providing a safe and trusted system for everybody to use. So that's an extreme tool in the toolbox, but we've used that on a few occasions now with people with sentences who've just already been gone through the court system. But the court system it's not working, or they have other mental challenges who shouldn't be on our system. So we're using more tools in our toolbox, and we need more presence on the system as well. With presence comes typically good activity. This is where TOD fits in as well. So if you get good activity around a system, then crime historically drops off. And so through all of its fronts, short, medium, and long term, including our partners that Justin referred to, that's where we need mental health professionals on this. So this is back to the reimagining of safety security, not only for our employees, but for the public at large as well. So there's more and more tools we continue to build because this work is far from finished. We got a lot of work to do here.
Just my one other comment that I have is how we're using the word offender. That was also, I forget what slide it was on, but I also just, I have some problem using that word offender because I feel like it does not set up folks for success. I'm specifically thinking about young people who, might get a citation, might get sort of this word offender tacked onto them just because they forgot their fare or just forgot to pay that day. I don't know if that's something in statute that is the reason why we need to use that word offender. But I would, again, back to words and language are important. From what I had stated earlier, you know, I think there might be other ways of calling someone who has not paid rather than just calling them an offender, because that does carry weight. Again, I think disproportionately
Agree with her.
Different groups and different communities. So just a comment.
Yep.
Director Way, thank you for that comment. And yes, we're definitely being very community sensitive about this program. And as you'll see, we are transitioning from a fair enforcement program to a code compliance program. We are trying to reduce the enforcement aspect of it and talk about how we should be complying with the code. So thank you.
Okay, Bruce, I think you're on mute there.
Thank you, Doug. I'm seeing no other comments or questions from the board. I guess, Lori, I wanted to make sure that you feel you got what you needed. Oh, I see Keith raising his hand here. Let me start with Keith and then get back to you to close it out, Lori, okay? Keith?
Yes, I just wanted to say thanks to the staff for doing this great work, because this has been a transition for them, I'm sure, trying to reimagine and rethink how they deal with the fair enforcement. But also I wanted to ask, and maybe it was in here, but the frequency of these occurrences, are they able to identify certain frequencies of different occurrences that are happening, and so is there a pattern in a certain region by date, or not by date, but by time and by area?
Yeah, I'll be glad to take that one, Marla. That's Director Edwards. That's a very good question, and that's something earlier in the slide, and trying to be diligent with time. The reverse geocoding that I mentioned to really start to be strategic. Essentially, these electronic citation devices our staff have, like any mobile device, our GPS have GPS capabilities, and as we develop this program, when it's picking a location, it will actually talk through the back end of Trimet to determine, what location you're actually at. And it can break it down not only by time of day, but is that a line 70 at 17th and Center inbound or outbound? And that's really why we wanted to have that capability, is to start maybe trying to make some sense. Is it early morning in this area? Is it late evening? So we have that capability moving forward when we really want to start, diving in and being more strategic with how we allocate resources.
I think you should have Fairless Square for the whole system. Find another way to get that money and stop oppressing the people.
Now, Lori, I'll let you have the last word, since you were pretty much our champion in helping work to decriminalize.
She's not our champion. She's our enemy. Just remember that. I remember that. They better not even make... Wow. Jesus.
Analyze our system and make some of the changes here.
No, I just sat in on meetings early on, but certainly when I first joined the board and I did my ride along with the transit police and I saw someone arrested on one of the platforms, it did make me wonder about how people who don't pay their fares end up being arrested. And so I have a better understanding of that now, and we've made changes. We're not slacking off. Those who really are committing serious offenses, they're still being addressed. But
no, they're not. No, they're not. There's no way to keep people off the system. Stop lying, okay? You can't keep them off. It's impossible. You need a cop on every bus.
Fare evasions are being treated differently.
And I'm against all of this. I'm against it 100%, okay, just on the record.
It was helpful for the rest of the board as well.
I would just like to add on here, if I may, President Warner, I also want to thank those folks on the front lines here who do this work. This is hard work. It's not popular work often. And I want to thank Marla for helping chart, and along with John Gardner and others, and the whole decriminalization. This has taken a bit of a village inside Trimet, but I really want to applaud to Marla, to John, and to the frontline staff who do this every single night when we're sleeping or doing other things. So it is really important work for the agency, and they do a great job. on a complex.
The activist community in Portland, I know for sure, want a fairless system, and I want a fairless system. We want all of this gone. We want all of this gone. Just security on trains and buses. None of this fair shit. None of it. Get it out of here.
I think so. Thanks.
And there, can I mention one more thing real fast, which is that the monetary penalty was decreased also. We didn't mention that.
It's still too high, goddamn it, Lori. A $2.50 fare shouldn't result in a $75 ticket. All right? It should be a $10 ticket.
I understand it has reduced some of the negative interactions between the fare inspectors and riders. So that's also a very important change.
That's correct.
Oh.
Well, thanks, staff and Doug, for putting this together. Again, I want to thank the board for hanging in there for the entire purpose today, or time today on this, but there were some important things to deal with. And so, Doug, is there anything else we need to know today before we say goodbye?
I'm just going to snuff the candle out, and I think we're done, Bruce.
All right.
From management's end.
All right. Well, thank you all. Have a good rest of the day.
All right.
You got at least 2 to 3 hours of sunlight.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, we're done. Thank you. And that's the end of the board meeting. And I actually watched the whole goddamn thing. Can you believe it? Oh, this is an hour long? Holy shit.